when we want to reward our horse with physical touch, what is the invitation?
Okay, the gesture that I think you're asking me for is not even necessary. The way I see people loving on their horses, a lot of times the horse doesn't like it.
I would totally agree with you.
It's totally for the person. It's not for the horse. I'll show you where to rub these horses that they like rubbed. And it's not where a lot of people patting them, for example. People don't even pat the people like that.
70 miles to his nearest neighbor. No power lines, no distractions, just horses, cattle, and the work in front of him. Martin Black reads a colt the way most people can't. 10 things at once. He calls it peripheral thinking, and you can't copy it. This is part 1, why the same method that works on one horse falls apart on the next, and the hours nobody can hand you. Before we begin today's episode, I'd love to ask for your support. The simplest way to support this podcast is to hit follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the show reach more people who care about the same things that we do. Better horsemanship, deeper conversations, and a more thoughtful future for horses and the people who love them. And if this podcast has meant something to you, leaving a rating, a review, or a comment makes a huge difference. So thank you for being here. I really do not take your time or attention for granted. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
So for everyone who's listening and watching, this is a really special episode because not only is Martin the first to come back, or one of the first to come back, certainly the first to record and come back for season 2. But we're here in a part of the world that your family has been since the 1860s. Is that correct? So it feels, and like we've spent the last couple of days, I've been learning from you. I've been watching you. I see how and where you work. It's a very special part of the world, in my humble opinion. Do you think that there is something unique about living where your ancestors have lived?
Well, I grew up not knowing anything different. And going to town never was a good experience. I mean, we didn't go to town to go to the water park or things that maybe other kids do that's fun in town. Mm-hmm. I never got into shopping, or there was just nothing in town. It was just a chore that you needed to do. Mm-hmm. As a little kid, you got drug around with your mom, getting supplies or going to the doctor or dentist, and none of that was fun. So going to town wasn't something you look forward to. It was just something that you had to go through.
Okay, I want to paint a picture for everyone who's listening to this episode, because this part of the world is really unique in that, and I mean, there's lots of other parts of the world like this, but I want to describe to everyone, this isn't just like town is, 10 minutes away.
Well, if you go past, it's 25 miles to my mailbox.
Yeah.
It's 70 miles to my next door neighbor. If you go, and you got to go over a mountain range, which is the road's closed in the winter.
Yes.
To get there. So I'm kind of on the edge of the world. And if you go to the south, you're almost to Winnemucca, Nevada, or Battle Mountain, Nevada, before you run into civilization. There's a few cow camps out on the Waihi Desert, but nobody lives out there. It's a very remote area if you go west and south from me. Now, if you go east or north, Boise is an hour away, which is convenient to get to the airport. We have a couple little towns with grocery stores to the east, like 20 minutes away, small town. Mm-hmm. And another larger town that's 40 minutes away that you can go to the doctor. But no, it is a pretty remote area. And it's also a very arid area, so there's not a lot of life. It doesn't support a lot of life. I mean, there's water in this canyon. 6 miles south is the next water.
Yeah.
So if you're a coyote, you're going to have to travel for water. And it's about 15 miles to the north to the next water.
Okay, this connects into a question you had for me. Do you want to ask it for me, or do you want me to read it?
Go ahead and read it.
Okay. So Martin sent me 2 questions last night when we were talking about what we were going to talk about. He said, well, I got 2 questions for you. And I'm going to sit there. I'm going to send it to you so you can sit with it or think
Just
about it.
because I knew you'd have to talk about it last night. I wanted you to sleep on it.
So you said the second question, and I'll ask the second question first in classic Noel fashion.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest takeaway you're leaving with from this visit? So I thought a lot about it. But often
That's why I didn't ask you last night.
And one of the things that really stood out to me was there are no distractions here. It's like this, and for lack of a better reference, like it's a blank canvas. There's no Netflix, there's no grocery stores, there's no Starbucks, there's no
power lines.
There's no white noise. There's horses and cows and stockmanship. But what's very noticeable to me is the world in which you live in is void of distractions. You wake up and you know exactly what you're working on that day. And there's like this.
The biggest difference of this ranch now and 100 years ago is we have a solar unit for power.
Right.
They didn't have 100 years ago. But pretty much everything else hasn't changed much.
I think that, to me, it then now explains like how clearly you see your world and how it allows you to focus on horses. Now I understand how you've done everything and have the space and time and focus to work on what matters to you, which is your horsemanship and your stockmanship.
Well, this piece that's here, people pretty much love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
For example, and not just this place, but a lot of these remote ranches, in the Great Basin and anywhere else. The wives that come out, with their cowboy husbands, the guys might love it, their job, and love their location. The women usually love it or they hate it.
Right.
They either love the peacefulness of it or they hate being away from town.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's not a criticism.
Yeah.
And there's a saying about the desert, if you live there a year at your own will, you'll never want to leave.
Because that's the other thing that really, so when I started to, I was talking to Ben about the space that exists here, and then I kind of wanted to go a layer deeper. So I was thinking, okay, that explains that self-reliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That explains it explained to me so many aspects of your lived experience, where you explain even like driving down to California to see Tom, right? That's a big drive to go and work with somebody. It's not like you can just drive down the street and have someone help you with something, or, there's a lot of self-reliance, and therefore your world is very like, okay, how can I figure this out versus who can help me? And that's such a product of your environment. And that really stood out to me, is it also gives you the space and time, like when we're out there with your cows, and I'm so excited to talk about that. You're out there maybe on your own, or maybe you even talk about like not having a big team of people to help you with your cows. So you have to get really good really quickly. And that's probably true of all aspects of your life, because you can't just call the handyman down the road and go like, hey buddy, I need some help. Can you fix this for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, growing up, we didn't have to call the plumber to come fix the toilet because we had an outhouse. Things were very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pump didn't break down because you packed water from the spring in a bucket. I mean, it was very simple. I'm talking about in cow camp.
Yeah.
Now, we lived in a house in Bruno that was much more civilized, but even then it was really behind the times compared to now.
I want to talk a little bit about the saying you have no formula fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And now spending time here in the environment that you live in, and now, like, again, it's like I understand a layer deeper. That you can't copy, I call it copy and paste horsemanship, right? But we talked a lot about this formulaic tendency that you can see in the horse world.
So I'm an opportunist. I've learned growing up, my brother and I spent a lot of time in cow camp as young kids, basically doing like 3 men's work, and we were just little kids. My family for generations, pioneers, you just done things shorthanded. You never had an abundance of help. You never had the money to hire employees, or you just done what you could get done, and what didn't get done today, tomorrow will come. And if tomorrow doesn't come, well, today doesn't really matter that much anyway. So, that's the philosophy I grew up with. And, it's kind of a just to fit the situation. We get ready to go out and like we did the other day. What are we going to do today? What's the plan? Well, I can tell you what the objective is. We're going to go down and work some cattle. The plan of who goes where, you tell me, and this is, I've managed ranches and run crews and stuff, and people want to know what's the plan for tomorrow. Well, you tell me who's going to show up for work, because my whole crew might not show up for work. They went to town last night, So that can be a factor. Changes your plan at the last minute. And you go out there and, your equipment malfunction to whatever degree. Okay, so now we have to alter that plan. And maybe the weather made you alter your plan. Okay, and you finally get out there, and you was thinking maybe the cattle would be over here, and they're not. So now you got to go who knows where to, get the cattle gathered up. And it just goes on and on and on. So, but the objective is the same. You have to be able to change your plan. Because when you got a plan and you commit to a plan, and it can be a lot more work to stick to the plan, and it can be much more ineffective if you stick to that plan. But you can still maintain your objective. And even though you might not reach your objective today, we'll shape it up to where we can reach it maybe tomorrow. Okay, so that's just ranching in this world. There's too many things that nature can throw you a curveball, and the livestock can throw you a curveball, and unreliable people can throw you a curveball, and unreliable equipment, if equipment enters into it. So there's all that stuff you have to adjust for. Okay, so growing up with that and working with that all my life, it's the same with livestock, with the horses. So I'm not going to say my plan is to go out there and get flying lead changes on this horse today. That can be my objective, but it might take me several days of shaping things up. And you just keep working for that. This horse is a little tight. I need to get him a little more supple, on the hindquarters before we're going to get a lead change. Okay, well, we might work for 2 or 3 days on just, getting this donkey to, where I have his hindquarters in better shape for it. So it's just, you're just working toward your objective, but you got to be flexible. Yes. And if there's an opportunity, and a lot of times I'll go out and, leads can come next week. This sucker really wants to stop today. So I'm going to capitalize on something else that has nothing to do with my objective. But here's some stuff that I want to put in my bucket that's right here. So let's take it and put it in the bucket, and we'll add that other to the bucket later.
And that I will reflect back that is something that one of the things that I found to be the most, first of all, it's one of the deepest parts of your horsemanship that I've ever witnessed, of anyone I've ever watched. And I've had, Tick and I have talked about this. it blows my mind when you work with a horse how you can pivot and you can go, oh, perfect, this is, this is happening, oh great, we can work on this, or oh, the horse is doing this or leaning towards that or whatever. And you have, because you've worked with like thousands and thousands of horses, you have all these case studies in your mind that you can go, oh perfect, I'll just pivot and I'll work on like leg yield, moving off the leg here, and on the ground with like a 2-year-old, right? Like you're setting it's so, and it kind of reminds me, like if you're planting seeds, it feels like quite a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself, like, I know how to plant a couple seeds, and you have like a row that you're like, oh great, we'll just go over here and we'll nurture that seed over here, because there's so many seeds that you have to plant for a horse.
No, and there's that side of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. If I see an opportunity for this seed to germinate and grow,
yes,
and this one's not ready, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Let's nurture this one and get it going. This one will come later. On another note, and this back up to the, my objective is to work on leads.
Yeah.
But I get out here, wait a minute, this is in my way. I got to take care of this. There's weeds growing around this seed here.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
We need to take care of that garbage and get it out of the way before this can grow. Before this horse will change leads, we got to get, and that's what I'm saying, we have to get him more supple. We have to get some other things out of the way, this stiffness, this fear, this whatever it might be, that this horse has that's in the way. We got to take care of that. And for the greater good, that's going to help a lot of other things. If he's stiff here, stiff there, a little scared of this, a little scared of that, or leaning toward the barn, or whatever it might be, we got to take care of him leaning toward the barn, or it's going to show up in any lateral work.
So this is when I realized, this reminds me of the moment yesterday when we were gentling those 2-year-olds. And you said, you're fixed on rubbing his shoulder, but you're not reading the moment. And I realized that you are not attached to anything. So we talked about attachment, right? You're not attached to an outcome. You're reading the moment to moment. And this is where I always come back and I like harp on in the podcast about presence. And I am guilty of, I am just as guilty as the next person at having to work at presence. Yesterday was such a clear moment in the round pen where I was like, you're fixed on rubbing that shoulder and you're not looking at the situation as a whole.
That's what I call peripheral thinking. And I didn't know that everybody didn't think that way till I got out in the world. It took me a while to figure out, these are smart people. A lot of them are highly educated, smarter than me. It's like, why in the hell can't they see 10 things at the same time?
I want to take a quick pause to invite you into my brand new Substack. Each week, I publish essays on the horse world, from equine industry insights, horse culture, equine economics, even the more mystical, spiritual, and relational side of life with horses. It's where I write more candidly about what I'm seeing, questioning, learning, and working through with my own horses. A lot of these essays are inspired by the wisdom of my podcast guests, my NF Plus instructors, and the incredible horses who keep asking me to look deeper. There are free and paid pieces, and subscribing is a beautiful way for you to support my work in the horse world. You can find my Substack at noelfloyd.substack.com or through the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
These are smart people. A lot of them are highly educated, smarter than me. It's like, why in the hell can't they see 10 things at the same time? But what I learned is it's the predator that gets in our way. We are fixed on our prey, whether it be a job or, getting the objective on this horse. We're making plans, back to that a little bit. You had one thing that you was focusing on.
Yeah.
with that yearling.
Yeah.
We were halter breaking yearlings.
Yeah.
First time they'd been haltered yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at 10 things for the greater good.
Yeah.
Keep them quiet, make them comfortable, but still motivate them. We don't want to get them too quiet and too comfortable with us, because then how do we get their feet to move? We got to inflict pain or fear to engage their flight mode, or how do we get their feet to move? And that's something I see, not to get off on a rabbit trail, but when people do too much desensitizing or a lot of these other things that gentle them, that has its place, but you got to be careful you don't dumb them down to the point that you take away all their self-preservation. What I mean by that is God made horses afraid of man. They're prey animals, we're predators. That's written in nature. We didn't write it. So, and that's why we try to unwrite it, is to make them safer for us. But there's an opportunity there to engage that horse's flight zone, to get his feet moving. Little gentle shake of the flag, and he goes, I don't know if I like that. And he walks around. Okay, now that he starts walking, then you could tip his nose and turn him around, and we could push him up behind you, and he started following you, and blah, 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 all that stuff.
Yeah.
Without that, whatever you want to call it, sympathetic arousal, intimidation, fear, discomfort, I don't care what you call it. You might say there's varying levels to define those. I don't care. Between me and the horse, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. We talked about this yesterday, about Ray and Tom and all those guys who had to learn how to teach.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm still working on that.
It's hard.
Well, it's a different world for sure.
You're having to put words into explaining to other people what's happening on an energetic or somatic level is difficult.
Yeah. You can't, it's hard to put words to feel and timing.
And it's also hard, and this is coming back to the no formula fits all, this copy and paste horsemanship. Something that I've come to really, and I think you're a huge part of me making peace with this, is that no amount of immersion or training, lessons, clinics, whatever, is ever going to substitute or replace just the hours that you put in to acquire your own timing and feel. Because everyone is an individual in that way, right? So I've come to really respect the fact that, like, I could even be here with you in Idaho for years, and being with you and shadowing you I might fast track a little bit, but you're never going to make up for the pure hours that you need to put in.
It's not just the saddle time or the time in the round corral. It's learning, how to reach out to that horse. And to go on just a quick little rabbit trail here, what I see different in today's world, the recreation world,
Yes.
versus, in my upbringing, horses were a working part of the ranch. They were a tool, if you will, but they were not companion animals.
Right.
That's a different deal. I mean, we had a great respect and spent a lot of time making good horses and everything, and we'd go way out of our way for them. But they were horses. They didn't sleep in the house with us. But what our interaction was based on is efficiency and effectiveness, because we had a lot of other things that needed to be done at the same time. Whereas in the recreation world, after work and all weekend, we're going to go spend time with our companion animal. And I see that gets in the way with the relationship people have with their horse. The horse gets bored.
Yes.
Instead of cutting it off, we're there for their emotional needs, and they want to cuddle and they want to experience and everything. I never had one horse to spend that much time on. When I was in high school, I was starting like 25 colts. I had plenty of horses to ride after school. And It's just like there was never a shortage of horses. Just the opposite. Don't spend too much time on that when there's 10 more waiting.
I know we've talked about this, and we talked about this in season 1 about that transition that took place between a working partnership to a recreational partnership, right? In the horse world. And it's a very important line that we went from one side to another. Very important moment to talk about, because what I realize, I've never realized more than yesterday how attached I get to an outcome. And I think I'm guilty of it in all aspects of my life.
You're a nurturer.
I'm a nurturer, for
You're
sure.
You're born, it's in your hormones. It is what it is.
Yeah. And I realize that I get very attached to an outcome, and that I need to work more on being present and having that peripheral view that you talk about, right? Where I'm looking at everything that's happening and then I'm adjusting in real time. And I wonder, actually, whether when we made that transition, because you talk about in the ranching world, you have an objective that day, but it may or may not happen. Weather might happen. You might not have enough help.
Might have to happen tomorrow.
Right. And so the environment created more pliability and more requirement for presence. Now, fast track to now, where we've transitioned into a recreational relationship. I mean, there's still a lot of professional relationships. We have a lot of Olympians going to the, high level, high performance sport with their horses. So I would deem that more of a professional relationship, right? But when we look at the recreational environment that we live in with horses, sometimes I realize that we are all guilty of, kind of similar to, like, I want to run a half marathon by March, right? We apply that same goal setting, and goal setting is important, but we apply that same goal setting with our horses, and that's where horsemanship goes to die in some ways.
You want to dumb it down so you don't have to work so hard.
Whoa.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. No, but okay, wait. Let's dive into that. Okay.
Well, that's what I see. We want the reason for horses, for I would say the majority of people today, is for the emotional connection. It's that lack of whatever it is in their life, the companion dog, the companion horse, whatever it is. Growing up, everything had a purpose. Our dogs were working dogs. We liked our dogs liked us, but they were working dogs. We didn't have them in the house. We didn't have them as companion animals. You don't pet another man's dog. That's just something I grew up with. And I don't pet other people's dogs today. People say, you don't like dogs. No, I like dogs. I just don't pet other people's dogs. It's disrespectful to that person. If that's a working dog and he goes out there and he's scolding his dog for not being in position or something, the dog just gives him the finger and says, I'm going to go over to well. She petted me. She's nice to me. You're not being nice to me. It's like, it's like taking somebody else's kid, and you just don't go there. That's disrespect for somebody else to, take their animals and soften them. It's totally acceptable. It's in this other world, this recreation world.
Well, yeah, because I do think, and I'm, I'm the first, me. I mean, I'm the first. I want to love on my horses. I love to love on my horses, and the emotional connection that I have.
But the way I see people loving on their horses, a lot of times the horse doesn't like it.
And I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you.
It's totally for the person. It's not for the horse. Just like I was showing you last night.
Yeah.
I'll show you where to rub these horses that they like rubbed.
Yes.
And it's not where a lot of people patting them, for example. People don't even pat other people like that. I can't understand where that comes from.
Okay, actually, I think Dr. Steve Peters is going to love that we need to I want to really lay a stake in the ground here on this, because this is something that I grew up with, patting, right? You finish a round, your horse jumped great, and you pat them. Okay?
Who said that?
Who started
that?
I don't know, but they need to. I want to yell this from the rooftops with you, because I know Steve will appreciate. Okay, horses do not, and even the science shows that their cortisol levels will spike. They like until they associate that pat with something positive, it is not considered.
Well, the positive is the negative's going away.
Right.
You
they're not
understand that?
yanking on my mouth anymore.
Yeah.
They're whacking me on the neck instead.
The horse learns to associate that when they get a pat, all the jerking and pulling and spurring is going away.
Right.
But I promise you, I go out there and start some colts that don't know anything. And we're developing this relationship, this learning relationship. And I go to patting on them, they're going to go, what's this about? Mm-hmm. I can rub on them and I can scratch on them. And I do pat on them to get them to accept the blanket hitting them and the saddle hitting them. But that's a process to get them to accept the patting because they don't like it.
Okay, so everyone's listening. I want you to say this in like a statement, okay? Imagine everyone in the horse world is listening to this right now. Please say what you think or what you would invite us all to do when we want to reward our horse with physical touch. What is the invitation?
Okay, the gesture that we're talking about,
yes,
and I think you're asking me for, is not even necessary.
Oh.
You sympathetically arouse this horse. Now, Dr. Peters can nail this better than I can, but if I sympathetically arouse this horse, whether we're doing some cutting maneuvers or I'm working with a colt that gets a little scared of something, and we go through this process, whatever it might be, this is a sympathetic arousal.
Yes.
And he can be out of his comfort zone, but not be bothered. In other words, this special forces horse,
mm-hmm.
he is into it. He's running, he's ducking, he's diving, he's shooting the enemy, whatever his thing is,
mm-hmm.
he's at the top of his game. He's been prepared for this kind of work.
Yeah.
And it is very intense. It is very high energy. And that doesn't mean that he's uncomfortable with this high energy because he's trained. But when they come down from that, whether it's this horse that says, oh, I don't know what that sack is on the end of that stick and, that could eat me, or this other special forces horse we're talking about, when they come back down and they get the serotonin and the dopamine and whatever it is, that's the reward. That's the cocktail. Mm-hmm. And I've had some of my friends say, why don't you pet your horses? Because I don't want to get in their way. The petting is for the person, not the horse. And I'll take it a step further and explain that. So this horse licks his lips, tells me that he's got his drugs.
Right.
Okay? That's the cocktail.
Yeah.
So what my horses learn is when I get them aroused, whatever path that is, mm-hmm. and they come off that arousal, they're going to get a margarita. So they look forward to going to that level with me because we're going to the bar later.
Well, you know what it reminds me of, and I think where everyone who's listening, if they can imagine when you ever go for a workout, you go for a run or you lift weights or whatever, and that feeling mm-hmm. after,
mm-hmm.
it makes
the dopamine.
Yeah. So
the serotonin.
And we're also coming down that release, mm-hmm. right? That like release of all the physical pressure that you've been putting your body under, mm-hmm. and you feel really good after the gym. Mm-hmm. I think of, imagine if Ben or you came over and I was just blissed out, right? I'm sitting there going, I just like lifted some big weights or I just went for a big sprint, and then my body's like relaxing, coming down from that. Mm-hmm. And you guys started whacking on my back.
When just before that gets there.
Yeah.
They grab you by the collar and go smack, 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 smack.
Yeah.
It totally breaks it up.
Yes.
Now that kicks you back into the whatever, cortisol or whatever.
Yeah, you're going, oh.
And they just screwed it up. Mm-hmm. And I see that. So now you get the people that say, yeah, but when I pat my horse, he licks his lips. That's because he knows that all the pressure is gone.
Yes.
That's a learned response. That's not just what they come from. My horses are going to get that without petting them.
And don't you think that there's a power in the being present with your horse as they're having that cocktail? So it's like having a drink, like you and I having a drink at the bar. You're going to build that strong bond because, I'm at the bar I'm relaxing from my heavy day at work, and I'm having a glass of wine, and I'm having a glass of wine with Martin. And so they're just being present with each other through that process.
Well, not saying a lot of other people don't do what I'm talking about here, but there's a lot of them that don't. And the difference is, like I say, these horses that really like to work a cow, you can just tell. They go in the herd and they just get like, who's going to challenge me? I mean, you can just feel it in them, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with jumping horses or anything else.
Absolutely.
A horse that learns his job and likes his job, it's because of these cocktails. Whether it's on accident or purpose, whether the person knew how to mix the cocktails, or it just happened. It can just happen.
Yeah.
But there's also the horse that goes in the herd, let's say, and just wants to close his eyes and go, oh my God.
I just don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. But when he gets out of there, he's going to lick his lips and say, thank God I'm not there anymore. That's the difference.
Okay, before we get back into the conversation, I want to share something that has genuinely changed the way I feed my horses. One of my horses, Lady, who I talk a lot about on this podcast and who some of you know, is a sassy Appaloosa and a notoriously picky eater. She does not like feed with a lot of fillers or chemicals. She is sensitive in every way, including her skin, which has always made feeding her a careful process. She lets me know quickly when something does not agree with her. Finding a feed that she could eat consistently and that supports her overall well-being has mattered more to me than anything else. Total Equine by Total Feeds has been that feed. When I first tried Total Equine, I was super skeptical. It looks more like kibble than pellets, and I judged the look of it right away. Also, it's affordable. And as someone who's grown up deep in the competitive world of show jumping, I immediately interpret quality with price. Nothing in the horse world can be both good quality and affordable, right? Well, wrong. My horses have never looked better, and they love it. Thanks to important trace minerals like copper, zinc, and selenium, Lady's digestion is steadier than ever. Her weight is great, her coat quality improved measurably, and her top line has stayed intact, even with time off after our epic road trip across the country. That alone would have been enough to earn my trust. But that trust was tested in a big way when we took Lady and Galano across the country. Traveling over 25,000 miles with your horses demands consistency and nutritional integrity to balance the stress and demands of the road. Having a feed I could rely on no matter what made a huge difference. Total Equine kept both my horses nourished and settled through long hauls, new environments, and constant change. They're one of the only horse feeds in the industry to use Norwegian kelp, providing essential iodine, minerals, prebiotics, and thyroid support. I cannot say enough good things about Total Equine by Total Feeds. Developed by Dr. Harry Anderson, who I now consider a friend and ally in the fight for good horse care in this time of inflated prices and impossible economics in the horse world. I am careful about what I recommend, especially when it comes to nutrition. I've never spoken publicly about horse feed before, and I am proud to speak up now. Total Feeds has earned its place in my barn because it supports my horses in a way that is noticeable, measurable, and reliable. If you want to learn more about their approach to feeding, visit totalfeeds.com or pick up a bag at your local Tractor Supply.
But when he gets out of there, he's going to lick his lips and say, thank God I'm not there anymore. That's the difference. See, and my target is whether I'm roping on this horse or working this cow on this horse or anything challenging for this horse. Or it could be a colt and a round corral. like the babies last night.
Yeah.
You know, I try to get them to stay quiet, but on the other hand, when they feel the end of that rope and they turn around, I'm going to pause for a few seconds to see if they lick their lips, and they do. And what I found is every time the horse will lick his lips after a positive experience, that's like 2 or 20 good experiences.
Yeah.
It's like they're checking that in stone.
Yeah.
And if he sits there for 15 seconds and he licks his lips again, great. He just saved me 30 minutes trying to show him all this, going through the maze again. That's why Dr. Peters, by his own testimony, pulled me out of the lineup, is he's seen me being a bartender here, which I didn't find this on my own. Tom Dorrance was the best bartender I ever seen, because he would do this. And, Ray and a lot of other people would do it to some extent, but I really got to experimenting with it to see how far we could take it. And I waited 45 minutes one time for a horse to lick his lips. It was a traumatized cutting horse, highly stressed. And I just thought, you know what, I'm getting paid by the day here. I'm going to see how long it takes, or if this horse will lick his lips. Now I know, and I had this theory that they can't stay tight forever. They're going to relax at some point. Is it when they go back to their stall and they know nobody's going to be around? Or if I just sit here on this horse, can they stay tight
Braced.
forever?
Like a bracing almost.
Yes. I mean, I could feel this horse's heartbeat, not just through my calves, which you can feel that.
Yeah.
I could feel it through the saddle horn of this cutting saddle.
Oh, bless.
I thought, wow, I mean, this feels like an earthquake. I've never felt that before. And this was a horse that won $250,000 in cutting. And she said, no more. Can't take it anymore. And they're like, hey, what could you do? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. That's a challenge I'll take. And she licked her lips after 45 minutes. And I thought, will she do it again? About 15 minutes later, she did it again. About 5 minutes later, she did it again. And it just got to where, like, every couple minutes. And then she started yawning, and it's like, hallelujah, this is cool. It took over an hour and a half probably, hour and 15 minutes before I asked her to take a step. And then it triggered
the
traumatic
sympathetic
experience
arousal.
again. Oh, yeah.
So this is a good opportunity to kind of review a little bit of the neuroscience. And we're going to I call it Cowboy neuroscience. Because what's very exciting and interesting, and I know Steve shares this excitement as well, is that certain horsemen and horsewomen out there have been practicing this equine neuroscience for decades or more.
Well, how do you get anything done that you don't? I mean, you can beat them up and force them, but there's still some neuroscience there.
Right.
It's pretty crude.
It's pretty
And
crude.
it's not what, Tom Dorrance was talking about, or a lot of us, on whatever level are doing. But it's there.
So we talk about parasympathetic and sympathetic arousal. Parasympathetic, the rest and digest. Sympathetic, fight or flight. And the importance that it's very important for all of us in the horse world to understand that your horse actually doesn't learn in the parasympathetic. So we don't want to be super.
Well, you got to be careful saying that.
Yeah. Okay. So explain now. Perfect that for me.
Well, they got to be sympathetically aroused and to learn.
Yes.
But it's the homeostasis.
Yes.
Coming back to the parasympathetic.
Yes.
So you need this sympathetic for the parasympathetic to be effective. You need the pressure for the relief to be effective.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah. So one of my deals is pressure isn't effective without relief.
Right.
So the one that's just ripping and tearing on this horse, that horse is only learning to avoid the most pressure. But without any relief, you don't get homeostasis.
Right.
And that's what I'm targeting. And I'm not saying that everything I do, the horse is going to lick his lips for. Mm-hmm. But in the situations that they are going to lick their lips, that I can just throttle back and just pause for, usually it's 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. And you a lot of times you can see the horse go, okay, it's break time. Mm-hmm. It takes a little bit for that to unwind, or they're kind of staying ready, right? And again, whether it's the colt and the round curl that's kind of scared and bothered, or the high performance horse that's like, are we still in the starting blocks? But again, it's a homeostasis that we're targeting.
Yes.
Any opportunity we can. And that might be, in every however many seconds. I won't say a few seconds, but I could trigger that maybe every 15 to 30 seconds in some situations. And other times it might be after a 5-minute whatever, or several minute whatever. And then we finally stop, pause, put our hand down, relax, and the horse, hopefully it's not 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But still, that's what they learned from. When that mare, after 45 minutes, found homeostasis, it's like, well, where has this been all my life?
Let it soak happens in homeostasis.
Well, I'm not sure who you're talking. I mean, I would have to see what somebody is saying. That's my let it soak.
Yeah.
Because it might be they just quit bashing them.
Right.
The fur quits flying. That's letting it soak. No, that's not homeostasis. Homeostasis is a definable change in the horse. Let it soak? I'm not sure what that means.
Okay, let's explain the definable state, the state that homeostasis. Explain that to someone.
Well, I'm not the smartest one in the room for that, but that's when they come off of the adrenaline or any of the other, and I don't want to say norepinephrine, but I think that's one of them too, that they get the juices flowing that conditions them, that prepares them for this high arousal. Okay, but coming off of that, the RPMs are coming down. The engines are shutting down.
So the physical signs you're looking for, that a horse is coming off of sympathetic arousal and into homeostasis, what are some of those physical signs you're looking for?
Well, it's not just the physical signs. It can be the environmental things around them. For example, this colt could be tied to a post and I'm flagging him. And I make all this commotion and throw this thing on his back, preparing him for a saddle. And he's like, oh, I don't like that. I'm scared of that, blah, blah, blah. And pretty quick he goes, maybe that's all right. That didn't really hurt me yet. It's just kind of scary, but I guess I don't need to be scared. So I stop the commotion. The horse really hasn't done anything. And that's where and I won't say it's going to happen in 4 seconds, but it seems like it's a minimum of 4 seconds. It could be 45 minutes. But in a matter of time, that horse is going to not lick his lips because I quit bothering him. He's going to lick his lips because he's processed this. And that's the homeostasis. And that's when these arousal drugs, hormones, chemistry shut down. And he gets flooded with the serotonin, dopamine, like his lips. That's not a good explanation, but I'm not the smartest one in the room to explain that.
And
I can show you.
Yeah, exactly.
I might not be able to tell you, but I can show you.
But I think it's important. This is practice. This is learning, and you got to learn and you got to feel, because you could feel with those colts in the round pen yesterday, you could feel the heightened state and then the de-escalation and then that's what we're doing. I get it now.
Yeah, but the feel, I think it's, when people talk about feel, timing, balance, how do you define that?
It's so hard.
You can ask 10 different people to define it, and some of them might line up, but I could probably give you 20 other definitions of each one. Like feeling those colts last night. It wasn't a physical thing. It's like I feel lost, but I feel the way home is that direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that a feel?
Yeah. I mean,
So I feel I need to put more pressure on this horse to get him sympathetically aroused, to help him find the cocktail. And at some point, I'm going to feel now is the right time to take the pressure away.
yeah.
And it's only going to take a handful of times for him, and he's going to be ready to throw a saddle on, and he's going to stand there because he's accepted what I'm doing. And that's where in my colt starting business, I've really tried to accelerate that process. I might have 40 head of colts to saddle today. I mean, easily 20 when I was contracting. That's why they had me do this, is because my process, I won't say it was fast as much as it was efficient. I didn't waste a lot of time doing something 10 times that I could do 3 times, and it would be more effective.
Yes.
I don't mean to sound like I'm blowing my own horn. That was my science project. And I had all these white rats to experiment with. That's what I loved about the colt starting business. You know, I'd done like 500 head a year. And once they was riding, I really didn't care. I mean, it was those first impressions that really lit my fire. And, you know, getting them saddled, getting them all those first impressions, you know, and basically doing all this experimenting with this chemistry, which I didn't even know I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I knew things were happening, but I never thought about it that way. But again, that's why Dr. Peters pulled me out of the lineup, is like, you're a mad scientist at this. Yeah, and I love it.
Let's talk about working cows, because this is another component of ranch work and working with horses in this environment that I think really enriches our horsemanship. And I've experienced it firsthand this week working with you and working with my horses on your cows. It's very important, I think, that the horse world feels not only invited to try it with whichever horse. So first of all, let's just share with everybody who's listening and watching. Someone, let's say, who's listening to this episode, they have a hunter jumper or they have a dressage horse and they're going, Noelle, Martin, can I go work cows with my horse? How would you answer that?
Why not? Why would that even be a question? Because they've been conditioned to think that there's all these barriers, all these boundaries. So to talk about the stockmanship.
Yes.
My family for generations ran range horses, not Mustangs. Range horses. They were branded. They were looked after just like cattle. When I say looked after, they might have only gathered them once a year.
Right.
But they were domestic livestock.
Okay.
Before Mustangs, we won't get into
We won't go down that
part.
hole.
But there is a difference, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They were range horses. They never brought them in. There was no place to bring them into.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the open range. Thousands of them. There wasn't a corral to work these horses in. We use the term rodear.
Yes.
Which means you gather them, you surround them, and the rodeo is you do whatever sorting, branding, whatever activity needs to happen. Pull out the ones that you're going to market or whatever. But going back to, this style of thinking, you had to have some of this to work, say 100 or 200, or my granddad showed me a picture of 1,000 horses in one rodear.
Wow.
And not to get into the story of what they done with those 1,000 horses, that's another whole chapter in the book. But it didn't matter what size rodear it was. If they wasn't trained, it didn't matter if you had 1,000 riders. You couldn't control them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's what I see today, not to get too far off on a rabbit trail here, but a lot of people can't work their cattle. They got to take them to a corral to do the work. Well, it might be 20 or 30 miles to the closest corral. You're not going to go out there and grab however many cows and take them to the corral and brand them and take them back out here.
It's a lot of work.
You train your cattle to stay in the rodear. And plenty of times, it's very, very common in this area to maybe work hundreds, maybe as many as 500 head of cattle with maybe 2 or 3 riders, and 1 or 2 of them might be in the rodear catching calves to brand. Or my point is, it's minimal help to keep the cattle from leaving the rodear, because the cattle are trained to stay in the rodear.
You're the first person that I've ever heard talk about training their cows.
Well, if you're going to get it done, and it comes, I mean, this is old vaquero stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't something I invented. It isn't something that my family invented. This is something that came with the Spanish to this area. Mm-hmm. The Texans learned it later when they got cattle, which was a couple hundred years later. And it's done in Spain. It's done in parts of Europe. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Europe that they have corrals, and things live in a corral, just like a lot of this area. But in this area here, in the Great Basin, and there's other parts of the country, but I'm talking about the Great Basin that I'm familiar with, if you can't work your cattle in a rodear, you're pretty limited to what you're going to get done. Mm-hmm. Very limited.
Yeah.
There's more fences now. There's more corrals now. But like in my granddad's age, there was barely corrals, to get your horses broke in and things like that. They did not keep horses in corrals. They did not work horses. I'm talking about the herds for sorting and branding and stuff in corrals necessarily. I mean, my dad tells me stories about roping a horse and he goes off a rim rock, well, there goes your rope, I mean, there's those kind of stories that I grew up with. But back to being able to train hundreds of horses to stay in a group with no fences. They might hold them against a rim rock or maybe have a little help of a boundary. Cattle are no different. You train your cattle to leave when you ask them to leave, to stay in there when you expect them to stay in there.
Yeah.
Growing up, we trailed 1,500 head of cattle 80 miles every spring, every fall.
Wow.
And there'd only be like 2 of us for most of the way. And they might be strung out for as far as 5 miles. One person's watching the lead, make sure they're going the right direction, not go too fast. The other person's in the drag, making sure they don't stop and eat and go too slow. The cattle are trained to stay together, though.
So this is a really great opportunity to talk now, to break down what it takes, what are the ingredients. And I'm excited to dive into this because I experienced this working with your cows. What's required in order to keep a rodear in place without any fencing, whether it be horses or whether it be cattle. And I experienced, after we worked your cows, I felt so much more in tune with my horses. And when I was loading them, I felt so like my gestures, whatever I was asking for, had to be so much subtler because I've been working on the balance point, the flight zone, being aware of my footfall, my horse's footfall in relation to the cow. It just, again, it's like these are really important skills. So let's break down for everybody who's listening. What's required? What are the skills required to do this work?
Well, this is where empathy comes in.
Yay! You said it first.
I'm still working on what empathy actually means. But anyway. But it goes back to understanding what that horse is not thinking, but what he's going to think, because you know what's going to happen next before he does.
Empathy. Martin says he's still working out what that word means. In part 2, he shows you what it looks like on the ground, reading cattle, millions of them, and moving one cow out of a herd by leaving her alone. That's next. If the access and insight of this podcast makes you want to go deeper and actually apply these ideas with your own horses, NF Plus is where I've brought together some of the best riders, trainers, horsemen, horsewomen, sports psychologists, and practitioners in the horse world. Inside the NF Plus app, you'll find more than 70 masterclass courses on the challenges so many of us face. spooky horses, finding a distance, developing a better canter, developing feel, navigating fear and anxiety, or becoming a more thoughtful rider and horse person. Our instructors include Tick Maynard, Will Coleman, Carl Cook, Peter Wild, Dr. Jenny Susser, Ann Krasinski, and so many more. I created NF Plus as a safe, thoughtful place to learn at your own pace, with teachers and riders who have a wealth of knowledge. You can explore more at noellefloydplus.com or find the link to download the app in the show notes.